The dashboard clock glowed 1:17 a.m. in faint green light. Daniel Ward leaned forward in his seat, his eyes burning from exhaustion. 12 hours at St. Mary's Hospital had drained him dry. His only thought now was getting home, collapsing into bed and shutting the world out. The road was empty. Too empty. Only the steady hum of the engine and the occasional flicker of passing streetlights kept him company. Beyond that, the forest pressed in on both sides of the two-lane road, its branches curling together like skeletal hands. Daniel turned the radio on, hoping for some noise. Static. He flipped the dial. More static. Strange. This road always caught the local stations. A heaviness crept over him, the kind that makes you blink too long. Grip the wheel tighter. Remind yourself to stay awake, and then movement. His foot slammed the brake instinctively. Tires screeched. The car jolted forward, seatbelt biting into his shoulder. A figure stood in the middle of the road. Daniel's breath caught. It was a woman. She wore a white dress, shredded at the hem, fluttering in the night wind. Her hair clung to her face in damp strands. Her skin looked almost gray, like something pulled out of cold water. Daniel lowered his window halfway. "Hey, you all right? You need help?" The woman didn't move, didn't answer. She simply raised her arm and pointed down the road. Every part of Daniel screamed to drive away, to put his foot on the gas and never look back. But he couldn't leave her there. Not in the middle of nowhere. Not like that. "All right," he muttered, unlocking the passenger door. "Get in. I'll take you wherever you need to go." The woman slid into the seat beside him without a sound. Her presence filled the car instantly cold, damp, suffocating. Daniel swallowed hard and forced himself to look forward, back to the road. "Where to?" he asked. Her voice was little more than a whisper, yet it filled the cabin. "Just ahead." 2 words, hollow, final. The car rolled on. Daniel glanced at her from the corner of his eye. She sat perfectly still, hands folded neatly in her lap, her gaze locked on the endless black stretch of road. Minutes passed. The silence grew unbearable. Daniel adjusted the mirror and froze. The rear view reflected the car. Interior. The back seats, his own tired face. But not her. No reflection. Daniel's throat tightened. His pulse roared in his ears. He dared not look directly at her. His hands gripped the wheel so tightly they ached. The car passed beneath a failing streetlight. For a moment, the interior glowed, and Daniel saw her face. Her lips curled into a smile, too wide, too sharp. Her eyes were black, not dark, not shadowed, black, empty then. Darkness swallowed her again. Daniel's breathing turned ragged. His knuckles whitened. He pressed harder on the gas, desperate for an exit, a sign. Anything to break this nightmare stretch of road. The woman finally turned her head toward him. When she spoke, her whisper seemed to come from everywhere at once, inside his ears, inside his skull. "You shouldn't have stopped." The dashboard lights flickered. The engine sputtered. And then silence. The car died. Daniel's chest heaved as he twisted the key. Nothing. He tried again. Still nothing. The road swallowed all sound, all light, leaving only the hammering of his heart. Slowly, with dread crawling through every nerve, he turned his head toward the passenger seat. Empty. The woman was gone. A rustle came from behind him, soft, almost playful. Daniel's blood turned to ice. He didn't want to look. He couldn't, but the rearview mirror tilted on its own just enough for him to see. Something was moving in the back seat. Daniel's breath fogged in the cold air of the stalled car. The silence was crushing, like the forest itself had stopped breathing. That sound again, a faint shift. Fabric brushing against leather. From the back seat. He gripped the steering wheel tighter, knuckles white, heart pounding against his ribs. Every instinct screamed not to look, but his eyes betrayed him, darting to the rearview mirror. At first nothing. The back seat was empty, just shadows. Then the shadows moved. A shape took form, slow and unnatural, like smoke condensing into flesh. Long hair slid over the seat. A hand pale, dripping with something dark, gripped the edge of the cushion. Daniel gasped. Spinning around, the seat was empty. He whipped back to the mirror. The hand was there again, closer, crawling. His skin crawled. His throat dried. "This isn't real," he whispered to himself. "I'm just tired." "I'm just," a voice interrupted him. Soft, close, right behind his ear. "Daniel." The sound of his name almost stopped his heart. He froze, staring ahead into the black road, too terrified to move. Cold breath brushed his neck. A whisper, "Why did you let me in?" His hands shook violently on the wheel. With every ounce of strength, he twisted the key again. The engine coughed. Once, twice, then roared to life. Headlights flared. The forest lit up in sickly white light. For a split second, Daniel saw something in the mirror, her face, inches away, grinning with jagged teeth. He screamed, slammed the gas, and the car shot forward. Branches whipped past. The road blurred beneath his tires. But no matter how fast he drove, the air inside the car stayed freezing. The woman's whisper slid through the cabin. "You can't leave me here." Daniel's hands trembled, his vision blurred with panic. He reached over and fumbled with the door locks, slamming them shut, even though she was already inside. His eyes darted to the mirror. Empty. He dared to breathe. Shaky, broken. Maybe it was gone. Maybe a hand pressed against the inside of the windshield. From her side. Skin pale, veins black, fingers too long. It dragged slowly across the glass, leaving a trail of moisture that streaked downward like tears. Daniel's scream tore through the night. He swerved violently, the car nearly skidding off the road. He fought the wheel, heart hammering, lungs burning, and then the road ended. Ahead, a barricade loomed out of the darkness. Bright yellow signs, road, closed. Daniel's eyes widened. The brakes screamed as he slammed his foot down. The world tilted. Tires locked. The car spun, headlights slicing across the forest before everything stopped. Sudden, violent. Smoke hissed from the hood. Daniel's chest heaved, the seatbelt cutting into him. His ears rang. Silence, but not empty. Something was breathing in the car. Not him. Slow, wet. Behind him, Daniel forced his head toward the mirror. The glass was cracked from the spin, but it showed enough. She was sitting in the back seat, smiling. Daniel couldn't breathe. The woman sat in the back seat, as though she had been there all along. Her pale hands folded neatly, her head tilted at an unnatural angle. Her smile was wrong, too wide, too sharp. It stretched her face in ways skin shouldn't stretch. Daniel's pulse pounded against his throat. His eyes darted from the cracked mirror to the windshield. Maybe if he didn't look directly at her, maybe her whisper cut through the silence. "You shouldn't have looked." His chest seized. His fingers fumbled at the seatbelt, clawing it free. He shoved the door open and stumbled into the night. The forest air hit him like ice. He staggered into the road, sucking breath, glancing wildly around. The barricade loomed only feet away. Beyond it, the road ended in a drop into blackness. Daniel turned back to the car. The headlights still burned, casting pale beams into the trees. The driver's door hung open. The car hissed and ticked from the spin-out. The back seat was empty, but the passenger door was open now. It hadn't been before. His stomach lurched. He stepped backward, shaking his head. No, 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 no. The trees rustled. A shape moved between them, white fabric flickering between trunks. Daniel's breath caught. His legs begged him to run, but the only way forward was the barricade and the cliff. Behind him, the woods. To his side, the car, glowing like a trap under the headlights. The rustling grew louder. The woman's voice floated between the trees, soft, melodic, impossible to place. Daniel, he spun, trying to locate her. The sound shifted, now from behind him. Daniel, his chest heaved. His vision swam with panic. Stay away from me, he shouted into the trees. His voice cracked, pathetic against the vast dark. For a moment, the woods fell silent. Then, from right behind him, I already told you. Daniel whipped around. She was standing by the open passenger door, her face half hidden by wet strands of hair, her hand resting gently on the roof of the car, her smile wide enough to split her cheeks. You shouldn't have stopped, Daniel bolted. Pure instinct. He ran into the forest, branches clawing at his face, tearing his clothes. He didn't care. He needed distance. He needed to wake up. The night swallowed him whole. Every direction looked the same. Trees, shadows, roots rising like bones from the ground. Behind him, the crunch of leaves, footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Daniel, her voice closer. He stumbled, slammed shoulder first into a tree, pain shooting down his arm. He forced himself back up, lungs burning, and ran deeper. The forest grew thicker. The moon vanished behind the canopy. His steps grew clumsy. His breaths turned ragged. Then he saw it. A faint light, flickering. Not moonlight, not headlights. A lantern, through the trees. A small wooden cabin sat crooked on the edge of the forest, its windows glowing faintly yellow, smoke rising from a thin chimney. Relief exploded in him. A real place. Someone was awake. Someone who could help. He sprinted toward it, stumbling over roots, crashing through the underbrush. His hands slapped against the door. He pounded hard. Hello, please. Someone's out here. I need help. The knob turned. The door creaked. Open. Daniel froze. Inside. The cabin was dark. The lantern he had seen from the woods burned weakly on the floor, its flame guttering. The interior was shadowed, empty, too empty, as if no one had lived there for years. But on the far wall, scratched deep into the wood, were words, ragged, uneven, over and over, filling every surface. You shouldn't have stopped. Daniel staggered back from the wall. His flashlight app quivered in his shaking hand, the pale glow sweeping over the scratches carved into the wood. You shouldn't have stopped. Dozens of times. Hundreds. The words clawed into every surface. Walls, beams even. The floorboards. Some marks looked decades old, faded with dust. Others were fresh, splintering raw. Would his breath hitched. Someone had been here. Many someones. The lantern sputtered on the floor. The faint flame bent and stretched as though pulled by a breath. Daniel froze. There was no draft. But something exhaled in that room. He turned sharply. The doorway behind him empty. The forest beyond was silent. Too silent. Then a noise. From upstairs, a slow, deliberate creak. Floorboards bending under weight. Daniel's heart rammed against his ribs. He didn't want to go up there. Every instinct screamed run. But outside, the woman was waiting. He could feel her, at least in here. He had walls. He swallowed hard, gripping the lantern with one hand, his phone light with the other. Step by step, he climbed the staircase. Each creak echoed like a gunshot. At the top, a hallway stretched out, narrow and crooked. 4 doors, each closed. Something dripped. A wet patter. Daniel lifted the lantern. A trail of dark stains, smeared, across the wooden floorboards, leading to the last door at the end of the hall. His stomach turned. The smell hit him. Iron, damp earth, rot. His shaking hand reached for the knob. It turned easily. The room inside was small, dusty. A single bed frame sat against the wall, mattress torn open, stuffing spilling like entrails. But what made Daniel's blood run cold was the journal lying open on the floor. He crouched, lifting it with trembling hands. The leather cover was cracked, stained. Pages crumbled at the edges. Scrawled handwriting filled every line. I saw her again tonight. White dress, black eyes, always asking for a ride. She never leaves. Never leaves. God help me. I can still hear her whisper. I should not have stopped. Daniel's pulse raced as he flipped through more pages. each one worse. Drawings of her, face her grin, the words over and over. You shouldn't have stopped. Then, the last page, a single line, written in frantic strokes. Pressed so hard, the paper nearly tore. She is behind me. A floorboard groaned. Not in the journal. Here. Now. Daniel's head snapped up. His lantern trembled. The sound had come from the hallway. Daniel. The whisper. Closer than ever. His chest seized. He staggered back, the journal dropping from his hands. It hit the floor with a soft thud that echoed too loud in the silence. The door at the end of the hall creaked open on its own, slow, inch by inch. Daniel raised the lantern, breath ragged. Darkness pooled inside the room, then dash movement. A hand slid out from the gap, pale, thin, nails blackened. The hand pressed flat against the floorboards, dragging the rest of her body forward, inch by inch, like something not used to crawling. Her head followed, hair dragging, her grin fixed, wide enough to tear her cheeks. Her black eyes locked on him. Daniel. He stumbled back, slammed into the wall. Panic swallowed him whole. He bolted into the nearest room, slamming the door shut. His hands clawed for a lock. There wasn't one. On the other side of the thin wood, nails scratched slowly down. Long, deliberate dot. Her whisper seeped through. You can't hide from me. The lantern flickered, then died. Darkness swallowed him. Darkness swallowed the room whole. Daniel pressed his back against the wall, fists clenched so tightly his nails dug into his palms. His chest rose and fell in sharp, uneven gasps. On the other side of the door, the scratching grew louder, long, deliberate, wood splintering, and beneath it the whisper. Daniel opened the door. He shook his head violently. No, no. His voice cracked. Silence. For one terrible moment. Everything went still. Then the doorframe bulged inward, as though something pushed against it from the hallway. The wood groaned, threatening to snap. Daniel bolted. His shoulder slammed the opposite wall, his hand fumbling for a window. His fingers caught the sill, yanking upward. It stuck. He shoved harder, glass rattling, until the old frame gave way and the window screeched open. Without thinking, he threw himself through. Cold night air hit his face as he crashed into the dirt outside. Pain shot through his ribs, but adrenaline forced him to his feet. He sprinted away from the cabin, branches lashing against his skin, his breath tearing ragged in his throat. Behind him, the whisper carried through the trees. You can't leave. He didn't look back. He couldn't. Through the woods, the faint glimmer of headlights flickered. The car he broke from the tree line, stumbling into the road. His car sat where he had left it, tilted at an angle, headlights still glowing weakly. Daniel's chest heaved. His body screamed at him to stop, but he forced himself forward, yanking the driver's door open and collapsing into the seat. The key was still in the ignition. He twisted. The engine sputtered. Died. Again. Come on, you bastard. His fists slammed the wheel. On the fourth try the engine roared to life. The headlights flared bright, casting the barricade and the warning signs into blinding white. Daniel slammed the car into reverse, tires spitting gravel, then spun the wheel and shot back the way he had come. Branches blurred past. The forest tunnel swallowed him whole. He pressed the gas harder, until the speedometer climbed past 80. His eyes burned wide and unblinking, almost out. I just have to get out. Then he froze. Up ahead, the same barricade loomed into view. Road closed. Daniel's stomach dropped. No. He slammed the brakes, tires shrieking, the car skidding to a halt. His hands trembled on the wheel. He spun the car around, headlights cutting back the other way, but after a few minutes of tearing down the road, there it was again, the barricade. He was trapped. The road was looping. Panic swallowed him whole. He pulled over, chest heaving, sweat dripping down his face. His knuckles stayed glued to the wheel, as if letting go would mean losing his mind entirely. The car's radio crackled static, then her voice, through the speakers. "You'll never leave me, Daniel." He froze, staring at the radio. His own reflection in the cracked windshield looked like a stranger. The static swelled, breaking into faint whispers, hundreds of voices layered on top of each other, desperate, pleading. "Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop." Daniel's stomach churned, his hands shook violently, and then from the back seat, just behind his head, her voice again. "Drive." Daniel's knuckles clenched white on the steering wheel. The radio hissed and popped, her whisper sliding in and out of the static. "Drive." His foot pressed the gas, and the car lurched forward. The forest pressed tighter around him. Branches hung low, scraping across the roof like fingernails. The barricade loomed again. Same signs, same yellow tape, same rusted metal drums. Daniel's heart hammered. He turned the car sharply, spinning it around. Tires screamed against asphalt. 5 minutes later, the barricade again. His chest tightened. He slammed both hands on the wheel. This can't be happening. This isn't. Headlights glimmered in the distance. Not his, another vehicle. Daniel's breath caught. Relief exploded inside him. Someone else was on the road. Someone real. He slammed the horn, lights flashing. The beams from the other car grew closer till they passed. The vehicle was a rusted pickup truck, moving at a crawl. In the driver's seat, a man with hollow eyes, staring blankly forward. His skin looked sunken, like he hadn't seen sunlight in years. And in the passenger seat she sat, the woman in white, her head turned slowly as the truck passed, her black eyes locking with Daniel's. Daniel screamed and floored the gas. He tore past the barricade again, the road looping, twisting, never ending. Minutes bled into hours. He didn't know anymore. His body ached, his mind fogged. Every time he glanced at the fuel gauge, it hadn't moved. Full, always full. Then, through the blur of trees, he saw it. A second car. This one was half buried in weeds at the roadside, rust consuming its frame. Its headlights were long dead, but the driver's door hung open, creaking in the wind. Daniel slowed. Against every instinct, he stopped. Inside, the seats were shredded, claw marks raking across the dashboard. The steering wheel was snapped in half, and scrawled across the windshield in something brown and flaking. "Don't let her in." Daniel stumbled back, bile rising in his throat. He spun toward the forest figure stood between the trees. Dozens, men, women, some in old clothes from decades ago, some recent, some barely more than shadows. Their faces were pale, eyes hollow, each one watching him silently. Daniel's skin crawled. What the hell? One figure stepped closer. A young boy. Couldn't have been more than 10. His skin gray, lips cracked. He raised one shaking hand and pointed at Daniel's car. Daniel's breath caught. He turned. She was sitting inside. Back seat, waiting, her grin spread wide. "Drive, Daniel." The figures in the woods opened their mouths as one, not screams, not words. Whispers, a tidal wave of whispers, rising until it shook the trees. "Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop." Daniel's body moved before his brain did. He threw himself into the car, slammed the door, floored the gas. The whispers followed. The road stretched on. Endless dot, her voice curled into his ear, soft, mocking, tender. "You're mine now." Daniel drove, faster, harder, as if speed alone could outrun. The whispers gnawing at the edge of his sanity, but no matter how far he pushed the accelerator, the road unspooled endlessly ahead. The same curve, the same leaning trees, the same choking, black sky. He slammed the steering wheel. There has to be a way out. Silence, then a faint glow ahead. Daniel squinted. A flicker of orange light in the darkness. Fire, a house, anything but this cursed road. As he drew closer, the outline of a small roadside diner emerged. Neon letters, half burned out, spelled Maggie's Place. Its parking lot was cracked asphalt, weeds crawling through the fissures. His chest heaved. Civilization. Finally, Daniel swerved into the lot, gravel crunching under his tires. The diner's windows glowed faintly, though no car sat outside. The door creaked when he pushed it open. Inside, silence. Tables lined with dusty menus. A jukebox in the corner, its screen fractured. The air smelled faintly of mildew and something older, like pages rotting in the damp. At the counter lay a small leather-bound book, a journal. Daniel picked it up with trembling fingers. The cover was cracked, initials etched into it, RH. He opened it. The handwriting inside was hurried, frantic. June 12, 1978. I thought it was just a shortcut. They all said Route 6 was quicker. At night. But I saw her. God help me. I saw her. Daniel flipped pages, breath shallow. June 14th. She doesn't let you leave. The road loops. The fuel never runs dry. The whispers don't stop. Don't trust the faces in the woods. They're hers. They only echo what she allows. Daniel's pulse pounded. His mouth went dry. June 20th. There might be a way. She's bound to something I found. A tree. The old oak by the mile marker. She doesn't like it. Every time I pass it, she fades. If anyone finds this, destroy the tree. Burn it. End her. The last page was smeared with dried blood. The final line carved deep into the paper. Don't look in the mirrors. Daniel froze. Slowly, his eyes shifted. The diner's far wall was lined with mirrors. Dozens of them. Some cracked, some fogged, and in each reflection she stood, not behind him, not in the room, only in the mirrors, her head tilted, black hair falling forward, her lips curling into a slow, delighted grin. Daniel's chest tightened. His hands shook. The mirrors began to tremble. One by one, spiderweb cracks shot across their surfaces as if struck from within. A voice slithered out, filling the diner. You shouldn't have read that. The lights flickered, the air grew heavy, and every single mirror shattered at once, spraying glass across the room, the sound like a chorus of screams. Daniel stumbled back, clutching the journal, heart hammering. He sprinted for the door, burst outside, and dove into his car. The whispers followed, louder, sharper, wrapping around him like chains. But beneath them, another voice now joined in. A man's voice, weak, strained, but defiant. The oak. Burn. The oak. Daniel gritted his teeth. The journal pressed against his chest. For the first time since this nightmare began. He had something, a clue. He turned the key, slammed the car into drive, and whispered through clenched teeth, I'm not dying here. The journal sat open on the passenger seat, pages fluttering, as if caught in a wind that wasn't there. But the windows were rolled up. The air inside Daniel's car was suffocating, stale, thick with whispers. He pressed harder on the gas. The headlights sliced through the endless night, and still, the road stretched on. His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. A tree. An oak. That's it. That's all I need. The journal had mentioned a mile marker. The old oak by the mile marker. But which one? As if in answer, the radio crackled. Static filled the car. Then a woman's voice, low, sweet, venom in silk. You think you'll find it? You think you're different? Daniel slammed the radio off. The whispers, furious now, pressed harder into his skull. But beneath them he heard something else, a faint thump, like wood creaking in the wind. He slowed the car. His headlights caught movement in the trees. A shape, broad and twisted, standing apart from the pines. An oak, massive, gnarled, older than the road itself. Its branches clawed skyward, bark blackened like char. His breath caught. His pulse spiked. There you are. Daniel pulled over, gravel grinding under his tires. He grabbed the journal, shoved it into his jacket, and stepped out. The air here felt wrong, thicker, colder, like breathing through wet cloth. His flashlight beam shook as he approached the oak. That's when he saw them. Symbols, carved deep into the bark. Circles, spirals, crossed out eyes. Dozens of them. Some fresh, others so old they'd nearly healed over. He reached out, running, his hand across one. The oak shuddered, and from behind the tree a face leaned out. The woman, but not flesh. Not solid. She flickered, like smoke caught in moonlight. Her eyes glowed faintly red, and her grin was wider than any human mouth should allow. You shouldn't have come here. Daniel staggered back, heart hammering. The air around the oak pulsed, vibrating. Whispers swarmed, rising to a deafening shriek. He stumbled, nearly dropping the flashlight. His mind screamed at him to run, but he remembered the journal. Burn it. Burn the oak. Daniel spun, sprinting back to his car. He tore open the trunk, hands shaking, digging through emergency supplies. Jumper cables, a wrench, an old gas can. Empty. No. He kicked the trunk shut, looked up. The woman now stood in the middle of the road, just feet from his car. Head tilted, hair draped over her face, hands twitching at her sides. Her voice slid into him, smooth and jagged all at once. You don't burn me, I burn you. The car doors slammed shut on their own. The headlights flickered. The engine roared to life without him touching the keys. Then, the car lurched forward straight at him. Daniel dove sideways, rolling across gravel as the vehicle screamed past, barely missing him. It swerved violently, like something else was at the wheel. It turned, headlights blinding, bearing down on him again. He sprinted toward the oak, heart pounding, throat raw. He dove behind the tree as the car skidded past, metal crunching against roots, sparks flying. Smoke hissed from the hood. The car trembled, engine coughing. Daniel dragged himself upright, chest heaving, palms bleeding from gravel. He pressed his back against the oak. The whispers swelled, filling his head until he thought his skull would crack. The woman's laugh wove through them, high and shrill, and yet beneath the noise, he felt it, a pulse. The tree was alive, beating, breathing, and it hated him. Daniel squeezed his eyes shut, whispering through clenched teeth, tomorrow, gasoline, fire, I'll end this. But when he opened his eyes, the mile marker was gone. The road had shifted again. He was no longer sure where the oak stood. Daniel's hands trembled as he shoved supplies into the back seat. A red gas can, a lighter, rope, anything that could pass for a weapon. He wasn't going to sleep. Not tonight. Not until the oak burned. The town behind him had felt wrong. Even the gas station where he bought fuel was empty. No clerk, no cars, no sound. He paid cash, left it on the counter, and walked out without a soul in sight. Now he was back on the whispering road, headlights stabbing into blackness, journal open beside him. Find the oak. Pour the gas. Burn it before midnight, or you'll never leave. His lips moved without realizing. I'll burn it. I'll burn it to the ground. The whispers in his ears shifted. Some laughed. Some begged. One voice, the woman's, slid over him like a knife. Do you think fire scares me? Do you think I haven't burned before? He gripped the steering wheel harder. Shut up. The road bent. Literally. The pavement stretched, curving in on itself like a snake swallowing its own tail. He braked hard, tires screaming. When he looked up, the headlights showed. The same oak. The same carved bark. The same mile marker. No. I drove 30 miles. How the hell? He turned the car around, drove the other way, faster this time. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. His eyes stung. His throat was raw. Then dashed the oak again, standing proud in the glare of his headlights. Its branches seemed to move, clawing closer each time. He blinked. Double quotes. No, not possible. His voice cracked. The woman stood at its base now, waiting, a smile stretching too wide across her pale face. Her dress fluttered, though the night was still. You belong here. Daniel slammed the gas pedal. He wasn't aiming for the road anymore. He was aiming for her. For the oaked up, the car roared forward and hit nothing. The world tore sideways. His vision split. For a moment, he wasn't on the road at all. He was standing in a forest. Moonlight dripping through branches. Faces in the trees, carved and weeping. Then, he was back in the car, skidding to a stop. Chest heaving. Gasoline. He had to do it now. He grabbed the red can, stumbling from the car. The oak loomed, impossibly tall, impossibly close. He yanked the cap off and sloshed fuel across its bark. The smell was sharp, dizzying. The whispers screamed. Thousands of voices, angry, desperate. Burn, Daniel whispered. His thumb sparked. The lighter. Flame bloomed, orange and hungry. He pressed it to the bark. The fire caught. It spread fast, licking across carved symbols. Smoke twisted into the air. For the first time, the oak seemed to writhe. Daniel stepped back, covering his face. Yes, yes, burn, you bastard. But then the flames turned black, thick, oily. Wrong. They didn't consume the oak. They bled into it, sinking in, feeding it. The woman laughed, a shriek of joy and rage. You think you can kill me with fire? Fire gave me life. The flames raced down the trunk, curling toward him like living things. He dropped the gas can, stumbling back. His boots slipped on the gravel. The oak split, its bark cracked, glowing from within. Not with fire, with eyes. Hundreds of eyes, snapping open, all staring at him. Daniel screamed, backing toward the car. His lighter dropped, snuffed out in the dirt. The oak groaned, a sound like the earth itself, tearing apart. The woman's shape dissolved into the tree, her face pressing outward from the bark. You can't leave, Daniel. You're part of the road now, forever. The headlights flickered. The journal on the passenger seat flipped open on its own, pages thrashing in the wind. A line bled across paper in red ink, freshly written. The last traveler thought he could burn me too. His bones are still here. Would you like to see them? Daniel's vision blurred. His pulse thundered in his ears. He threw himself into the driver's seat, slammed the door, and twisted the key. The engine sputtered, died. He tried again. Nothing. The oak's branches moved now, bending low, scraping the hood. One slammed the roof with a deafening crash. Metal buckled. Daniel screamed at the windshield, throat raw, voice cracking. What do you want from me? The woman's face flickered across the glass, inches from his own. Her lips brushed the glass in a whisper only he could hear. Stay. And then every light went out. Darkness. Daniel sat frozen in the driver's seat, every muscle locked. His car was dead. The oak pressed in from all sides, its branches spidering across the glass, scratching like fingernails. The whispers no longer circled him. They were inside him now, burrowing, digging into his skull. Stay, stay, stay. His hands trembled. On the steering wheel. He forced himself to breathe, think, fight. He reached for the journal. The pages fluttered like they were alive, stopping on a line written in that same bleeding red. The only way out is the last mile. His throat closed. What does that mean? He whispered. A laugh slithered from the back seat. He jerked his head around. The woman was there, sitting directly behind him, her face pale, her eyes black pits. Her smile split wider and wider until it nearly tore her cheeks. The road doesn't end, Daniel. It never ends, unless. She leaned close, breath like ice against his neck. You end? His pulse hammered. He slammed the door open, crawling out into the night. Gravel cut into his palms as he scrambled backward. The oak loomed. It wasn't just a tree anymore. It was a tower of flesh and wood. Eyes blinking across its trunk, mouths opening and closing, moaning. The ground around its roots heaved like something alive was pushing upward. A skeletal hand broke through. The dirt, then another. Dozens, bodies clawing their way out, faces locked in silent screams, travelers who'd never escaped. Daniel staggered to his feet, nearly tripping over the gas can. His car was useless. The road was endless. The oak was unkillable, but he still had the lighter. His hand shot into his pocket. Flame sparked. The woman's voice shrieked in his skull. "Don't you dare." Daniel lifted the lighter to his chest, not to the oak, to himself. "If fire gave you life," his voice shook, but his eyes locked on the oak, "then maybe it can take me away from you." The branches lashed forward, furious, but too late. Daniel pressed the flame against his shirt. Gasoline still splattered on him from earlier. Whoosh! He erupted. Fire devoured him instantly. Agony tore a scream from his throat, but he stood his ground, arms spread wide. A human torch before the oak. The whispers turned to shrieks. The oak recoiled, its eyes snapping shut, mouths howling. Smoke poured from its trunk, thick and choking. The woman howled with it, her face blistered, cracking, her smile tearing in half. "You can't leave. You're mine." But Daniel only screamed back through the flames, "Not anymore." The fire consumed everything. His vision blurred, red and gold. Heat blinded him. Pain drowned him, and then silence. Daniel's eyes opened. Morning. He stood on the side of a normal 2-lane highway. His car was parked beside him, engine humming like it had never died. Birds sang. The sun was bright. The oak was gone, just an empty patch of grass. His body was untouched. No burns, no scars. He stumbled to the car, leaning on the hood for support, gasping. The journal lay on the passenger seat. Its pages were blank. Every word vanished. Daniel laughed, broken, hysterical, until tears ran down his face. Then, faintly, from somewhere far down the highway, a whisper drifted on the morning air. "See you on the road." His smile died. Daniel slid into the driver's seat, gripping the wheel with trembling hands. He knew he couldn't stay parked here forever. He had to drive. But as the engine growled and the wheels rolled forward, a sick realization twisted in his chest. He had no idea if the road he was on now was different or if it was still the same one. The whispering road,